Learn if statements in JavaScript. Imagine that you are on a road with only one path that you can choose. You can, for example, choose to code or to watch Rick and Morty, and you know that if you choose one option, you will not have any time to another option, and this is a perfect example of JavaScript if statements. Quick note before we start, this notation marks means comments, the same as double slash that you can use. I just prefer to use these marks in order to separate title from common texts. So you still can use double slashes, but you know that this is the second way how you can put comments in JavaScript. Let's write our first if statement. This is one branch choice because we have only one row to choose, and you must start with keyword if. Then you should put parentheses, and inside of the parentheses, you should put the condition, your choice. In our case, it might be true or false, so let's put true. Then you should put curly braces, and I can open it with enter. And inside of the curly braces, I can write the action that I have chosen. For example, watch Rick and Morty. This is the path that I have chosen. So I put this in console log. If I connect it to the browser using HTML file and live server extension, I put go live button. We will see a new blank page where I can inspect it by right click and find a property inspect. And here I can choose console to see any changes in the console, and you can reload the page if you have any errors. And after that, we see that we have a line watch Rick and Morty. The condition in the parentheses might be also false. If I put false and save the file, you will see nothing in the console because it means that we don't choose this branch. If I don't choose this branch, if I don't choose this road, I want to show the program that I want to choose the second road, and in this case I can write a keyword else. After the keyword else, I should also put curly braces and then enter to expand curly braces. And right now, else statements means that if I don't choose first road, I choose second road. This is the rule, it always works. If your if statement is false, it means that you choose else statement. So let's write console log.toCode. In the console, we see learn coding from line 7. That is the line where we have console log. And you might see that there is small difference, like the program, JavaScript, try to show you the way that you have chosen. So you see that transparency of the line watch Rick and Morty is a little bit darker than the transparency of learn coding. And if I change false statement to true, you see that we have watch Rick and Morty in the console, and you see that our else statements are a little bit darker than the watch Rick and Morty. If we use true or false inside of the parentheses, the JavaScript can say you what branch you have chosen. Let's write one more console log, but after both these branches. Now I wrote independent action I'm hungry, and you see that it goes after all these branches, and we see the result in the console. So we see our first choice, watch Rick and Morty, and after that, I'm hungry. And this is independent action because if I change the true value to false, save the file, you see that our first line have been changed to learn coding, but our second line is independent. It not depends on your choice. So whatever you choose, you can learn coding or watch Rick and Morty. After that, you will be hungry. So it's independent action. Independent actions you can write after if statements. So you see that whatever choice I do, I anyway see independent action, I'm hungry. One more note that actually else statement is optional. So I can delete this. And now you see my choice is false. If I save the file, I don't see this line, console log watch Rick and Morty. I see only my independent action. If I put true, now I see my line watch Rick and Morty. But again, if we have false as our conditional statement and we don't have else statement, our program just skips these lines So this is the same for our program as comments, and it will only print the line that is independent without if or else statement. Not always we use explicit true or if statements inside of our conditions. We can write some variable, for example, my choice, and I can declare this variable a little bit above. So let my choice equal to true. And after saving the file, I will see this line because my choice works as true in this case. And I can also write false. And you see that I have only independent action in this way. It works the same as to write false right here. But the difference that if I write false, explicit false, you see that JavaScript immediately understands that this line will not be printed. But if I write my choice, even though that my choice is false, JavaScript don't actually show any clues that this line will not be printed. Most of the cases we use variables inside of the condition statements because we want to change them. But in this case, don't worry if JavaScript don't show you immediately what the action have chosen. Let's look at another example. Imagine playing a game where the player must choose one of the locations. Player might choose a farm or a dungeon. Let's choose a dungeon. And after that, the player have new choices that depends on the previous choice. So in this location, in the dungeon, he might find a treasure or he might be killed by a monster. And the same thing on the farm. Player might choose the farm, and here he can find apples or he might meet a villager. This action depends on the location. In this example, player can't be killed by zombie on the farm. Also, he can't find apples or villager in the dungeon. So what if we want to write these dependent actions? How to do it in JavaScript? So let's start from our first branch. I write if keyword. Then inside of the parentheses, I write true. Then curly braces. Let's say that true means go to dungeon. I write in the console log, you found a dungeon. And after saving the file, I can look at the console. We see a message, you found a dungeon, because our condition is true. I can write else statement right now, but let's finish with our branch. Let's write this branch that if I have chosen a dungeon, we can find a treasure or be killed by a zombie. Inside of the if statement, I create a new line and I write new if statement. If, let's put here true, then curly braces, and I expand them with enter. And right now, let's say that true means find a treasure. So I console log find a treasure. We see two messages. You found a dungeon and you found a treasure. But if I change first true statement to false, you see that we have nothing. Yeah, we see nothing in our console. So it means that when you write nested if statements, like in our example, we wrote if statement inside of the if statement, this if statement, second action, starts to be dependent on the first choice. So if you don't choose a dungeon, you will not be able to find a treasure or be killed by a zombie. So this is how we realize this in JavaScript. I will return back this to true. And let's add some variables. Instead of the first true, I write let my choice as in the previous example. So, and I put my choice instead of true. It should work the same. I control it with console and I see that, I see both lines. So it means that our first line, my choice, equals to true. Equals to true. And let's change second line to something like luck or lady luck. I change our second choice with lady luck. So it means that not our player choose what to find in the dungeon, but it's some kind of accident choice, Right now, of course, we can change it. So for example, to false. And if I save the file, we found a dungeon, but we didn't find a treasure. I change them both to false. And let's write our else statement. I write else statement for our first choice. So instead of the dungeon, I choose a farm. So I should find this yellow brackets. They might be with different color, but find that there depends to the first if statements. In this case, this is our last curly braces that has the same color as the first curly braces after my choice. So this is very important. And right here, write else. Then new curly braces, they're with the same color as first curly braces after my choice. I can expand them. And right now, what means else? Else means that we have chosen the farm. And inside of that, we have two choices: to find a villager or to find apples. So I start write new if statement. Here I can put true. And again, let's say that true means find a villager. I console log that you found a villager. I wrote that you found a villager, and let's check it in our console. Right now we see a message you found a villager, because in our first if statement, we have my choice. My choice equals to false, yeah? It equals to false. You can hover over my choice and you will see let my choice column and the value that it has. Right now it's false. Or you can see right here, it's false, yeah? It means that we need to go to our else statement. So inside of our else statement, which represent the farm, we have a new if statement with true. So true means that JavaScript should choose this branch, and this branch console.log the message that you found a villager. So it works as intended, and if I change my choice to true and save the file, we see that we have you found a dungeon. Because if my choice equals to true, it can't go to else statement. It doesn't exist in our file. So this is the same if our if statement is false. But I return it back by Ctrl Z. And again, I can change it to false. Save the file. And I hope that you start to understand how it works, yeah? How we choose these branches depending on these actions. So let's also change true value in our second nested if statement to Lady Luck. In this case, our two variables controls all our choices, and we can change the value of Lady Luck to true. Save the file, and yeah, right now it works the same. And our final condition, our final else statement is to find apples. In second if statement, let's write else. And here I will console log you found an apple or apples. And I save the file, and right now I can see that you found a villager. Then our Lady Luck choice is equal to true, so we print this line. But if I change Lady Luck to false, save the file, you see that, okay, my choice equals to false, I go to this branch, and here Lady Luck equals to false, I go to this branch. And here you have console log you found an apple, what we have in our console. I also can add one line that you found a farm after the first else statement. So I add new line with enter, write a message that you found a farm. In this case, it's more clear that we will always have two messages. So if my choice is true and Lady Luck choice is false, I have you found a dungeon. I also forgot to add this last condition, be killed by a monster. After our first if statement, I see that I don't have else statement. And I can add console that you was killed by a zombie. If we look at our map, we have 4 different choices. So if I choose the dungeon, this is true in our case. And then, for example, Lady Luck choice is false. It means that we found a zombie, and we have 2 messages that we found the dungeon and then we are killed by a zombie. And the same with all other choices. So we have 4 different choices, and right now we can control them by these 2 values. It might seem challenging, so pause the video and try write the same code by yourself. And later you can compare it with my code, but this is really important to feel these branches, how they work, to create this simple map of different choices. Now it's time for a code challenge, and this code challenge will be short story code challenge. Write a short game story with 3-4 different choices that player might choose, it will take some time, but be creative and enjoy the process, because the practice is the key to fall in love with coding, not the theory, but practice where you want to use all this new knowledge that you have gained. Also, choose maybe one friend that will play your game. So in this case, you have a purpose to not only practice, but also create an interesting story. And it will really help you to enjoy the process of practice. Be careful, because if you start to show your code to everyone, you will find that it's difficult for you to write a code without the reward. People's reaction are reward for you, and be careful with that. If you show it to one person, it's nice. Then update it, create a new game and show it to another person. It really works and it boosts your motivation to practice. But don't make one game and show it to everyone. It will really decrease your motivation. If you want to see how I create my own story, watch my next video where we will solve this code challenge together, and I will show you how to combine all this knowledge to create an engaging narrative based only on if statements.